In a Boreal valley found in a land far away, there was a city discovered by a sorcerer called Sulyvahn. He discovered that this is where the legendary cathedral of the gods had disappeared to, including its inhabitants. Eventually, he became the pontiff of the city, became its leader, and wanted nothing more than total control. To ensure this, the pontiff imprisoned the old god Gwyndolin inside the old cathedral, and any other threat that could challenge his control. This included killing any remaining Darkmoon blades and locking up their captain in a tower. After these events, he rounded up his strongest knights and renamed them to Outriders. They took their oath to Sulyvahn in the new cathedral and were bestowed rings and sent out into the wider world. The knights thought they were going on a noble quest, but it was just the pontiff's way of eliminating any threat to his control. This statue can be found inside the high wall of Lothric. It's being prowled by a winged knight. The statue shows a young Sulyvahn when he was still a court sorcerer. If you doubt me about this, then why is the statue wielding the profane blade and wearing the pontiff's bracelet? But why would this statue be found in the courtyard in Lothric? Could it be that Sulyvahn was the first sorcerer of the Grand Archives? He was manipulating Prince Lothric into not linking the fire, which he was told to do by everyone else. Sulyvahn was not always a self-proclaimed tyrant. The reason for his change is the discovery of the profane flame, which has links to the flame of chaos from ages past. This flame spurred him on to take complete control of the city and make himself the pontiff. Sulyvahn was linked with Aldrich. He became the pontiff of a cult which derived from the religion of the deep. Because of his loyalty to Aldrich, he allowed the devourer of men to become the devourer of gods. This meant letting Aldrich consume the imprisoned Gwyndolin. Another possibility is that Sulyvahn has been pulling the strings the whole time. Hawkwood says Aldrich was a right and proper cleric who developed a habit. This could make it possible that Aldrich unknowingly ate human flesh fed to him by Sulyvahn. Eventually, developing a taste for it and eating people willingly, Sulyvahn obviously saw control and would entice Aldrich with a literal meal of the gods. Brainwashed by the unholy taste Sulyvahn forced upon him, Aldrich would take down Gwyndolin, and Sulyvahn would forcibly have Aldrich link the fire. That would be the end of the gods, and the end of Aldrich. With the power to send nigh unkillable, raving mad Outrider knights wherever he wanted, and with no gods or naysayers left, Pontiff Sulyvahn was truly in control. When Sulyvahn is hurt, he sprouts root-like wings. These roots are a result of the profane flame, because it was linked to the chaos flame, which came from a bed of roots known as the Bed of Chaos. These roots also affect the clerics of Irithyll. This is probably because of their use of pyromancies, which draw from the profaned flame. The Aldrich Faithful Covenant is given by Archdeacon MacDonald. He is found dead in a wet pit with two Sulyvahns beasts. MacDonald followed Aldrich's teachings as a priest. MacDonald probably saw through Sulyvahns' ruse and threatened to let the pontiff's secret be known. So the pontiff had MacDonald tossed down there to be slaughtered by his beasts. We know that 5 of the Outrider knights made it into the realm of Lothric. One of them did not reach the city, and instead met his bestial fate on the road of sacrifices. 2 of the Outriders made it up into the palace. The other 2, however, only made it to the entrance. These were the companions known as Vordt and the Dancer. The Dancer's past seemed to be one that was very controlling. Everything she did was controlled by the Pontiff of Irithyll. When she was eventually forced to become an Outrider knight, she departed from Irithyll, did what all knights should, find a lord worth fighting for, and so she ended up in Lothric. But by the time she arrived, the dark orb of the Pontiff's ring had already taken effect. It was too late for her now. The dancer was one of the daughters of Irithel's royal family, but was ordered by Pontiff Sulyvahn to become a dancer and then an outrider, which is equal to being an exile. He also gifted her dual blades infused with darkness and fire, similar to the Pontiff's own weapons. All Outrider knights are fated to turn into beasts according to her armour description. The armour is actually fused with her as a result of the Pontiff's ring. It is safe to speculate that the Dance of the Boreal Valley is related to Guinevere. The dancer's soul reads, "The Pontiff Sulyvahn bestowed a double-slashing sword upon a distant daughter of the former royal family, ordering her to serve first as a dancer and then Outrider knight, the equivalent to being in exile." The dancer's crown also backs up this theory. As it states, the mirage-like aura veil is said to be an article of the old gods, permitted only for direct descendants of the old royal family. Also, something else to back this up is that the dancer's soul can be transposed into soothing sunlight, a miracle granted to the maidens of the Princess of Sunlight, who we all know as Guinevere. The dancer is said to be a direct descendant of the old royal family. Presumably, this is the royal family of Analondo for the reasons I have stated, but it could possibly be an unknown royal family from Irithyll. But I personally imagine she is part of Gwyn's family, as all the evidence supports this theory. The rings of the Pontiff are known as his black eyes. This probably has much more literal meaning on their effect than just their colour. They probably release some form of dark energy, as that is what slowly corrupts the Outriders and turns them into beasts. This dark could also explain the portal the dancer arrives from, which is dripping with a dark substance. The Pontiff's rings could also possibly have ties with the Abyss, as it is known to transform and corrupt people into savage beasts. Inhabitants of Ulusil were examples of this. However, if the dancer was not a part of the old royal family, then perhaps she would have met a different fate. There is still one more Outrider knight that made it to Lothric. He was a friend of the dancer, and an enemy of the Pontiff. Or so we can assume. Vordt is one of the Outrider knights. He keeps an eye on the main gate that leads from Lothric to the outside world. Outrider knights eventually turn into beasts. Emma, the High Priestess of Lothric, refers to Vordt as a dog. This is because of how animal-like his movements are. Outrider knights are constantly hounded by the Pontiff Sulyvahn's black eyes, indicating that the knights of the Boreal Valley are tied to the Pontiff, even in their bestial form. Vordt is known to never be far away from the dancer of the Boreal Valley. Another reason perhaps why Emma calls him a dog, as he is loyal and always near the dancer's side. Why was he so loyal to the dancer? Did he become an outrider to go with her? If so, why would he give up returning to his home to follow her? Could it be that Vordt was living in Irithyll before Sulyvahn found the Boreal Valley? If he was, then he probably still believed in the old gods and the royal family of Gwyn. And since the dancer is most likely a descendant of Guinevere, then it may just be Vordt protecting someone that is a goddess in his eyes. If this was to be the case, that would explain why he was an outrider, as he would be against the Pontiff's control because of his links with the Cathedral of the Deep. But this is of course all speculation. The story of Irithyll is one of betrayal and tyranny, and it shows what can go wrong if people go mad with power. But without Sulyvann's betrayal, the city of Analondo would be no more than rubble, and Aldrich would not have become the devourer of gods. There is still more stories to be told about Irithyll, but those are stories for another time. Thank you all for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, then please don't forget to leave a like. Also subscribe to my channel, it'll really help me out a lot. Also, thank you for all the views I've managed to get on my last video, my lore video that is. It's done really well, surprisingly. And thank you all for that. And I'll see you all later.